Hey guys, and welcome to a battle featuring myself in charge of Nagarife here, the sub-faction of the High Elves, up against Mantis Shrimp and his Empire Legions. Should be a fun battle, which is going to take predominantly place in the left-hand side of this gigantic battlefield. We're all kind of huddled around this left-hand side here. So we've found a very pretty thematic, fun build. I haven't played the game for a couple of weeks, so hopping back into it, thought we'd go over some pretty fun stuff to start with. And we do have triple Shadow Walkers. These guys are a unit which are just simply for the sub-faction of Aleph and Nar here. So normally you can get Shadow Warriors, but not Shadow Walkers. These guys have generally better stats overall, I believe, but they also do come in with poison. And poison overall, considering it now doesn't affect friendly troops, can do pretty decent work overall, help turn blob fights in their favour. And Shadow Walkers in general are quite similar to Weight Watchers, just without the AP, without as good AP, which is kind of a big nerf to them, but at the same time they look pretty cool, which is always the main thing when I consider taking troops into a battlefield. Now, for my Lord, I do have Aleph and Nar here, of course. It wouldn't be a Nagarife build without the Shadow Lord himself, or the Shadow King, and he's going to be coming in with the Moonbow. I haven't got any of his other items. I'm quite a big fan of his crown, but it's just so expensive. So we do have the Moonbow to help deal with artillery. We have Mislead to build a copy of himself, and Slippery just to help her slip away from those nasty main engagements. So the main plan is to kite backwards with our triple Shadow Walkers, and as well as assassinating enemy casters as well as cannons and the like with Aleph and Nar. After that, we're going to follow up with double Silver Helms here. Silver Helms, pretty decent shock cav all round, but they're not going to be able to drag down enemy knights very quickly. So the idea is these guys come in as a bit of a mass blocker, and then we're going to follow that up with the double War Lions, one of which is the Rahaga's Pride as well. We have a very nifty ability here called the Mighty Roar, -8 leadership and 25% speed. Should help us catch some knights, and they have these awesome kind of half shields on their flanks as well, looking incredibly badass. So they're hopefully going to be the AP to help the Silver Helms punch above their weight in any cavalry engagements. Apart from that, pretty simple stuff. We do have 5 units of Spearmen. They're relatively cheap, relatively cheerful, good solid troops who will hold for a considerable amount of time while the rest of our build actually does the damage. We also have a Mage of Death coming in with Fate Abuna, Spirit Leech and Soul Blight, as well as the items trying to allow us to get as much kind of magic, winds of magic as possible. The reason I went for a Deathcaster once again is my main threat, I think, to my build overall is going to be heavy cavalry, and we brought the Spirit Leech and stuff to deal with them. Now, for the forces of the Empire here, we do have a ton of great swords mixed in. 1, 2, 3, 4 units of great swords mixed in with some basic state troops. Always nice to see the great swords getting some love. They are chevroned up slightly as well, and they will be able to chew through the spearmen with deadly efficiency here. Apart from that, it looks like we have some spearmen dotted around, as well as double archers, a unit I don't see terribly often, but they're incredibly cheap, basically working in the same way as the peasant bowmen for the Bretonnian forces. We have double Hellstorm rocket battery, trying to out-meme me here. However, rocket batteries are actually pretty good against High Elves due to their tightly packed formations. The blast damage does some considerable work all round. It looks like that's going to be it for the most part. Some swordsmen in the back lines. As for the hero core up in the skies, we do have a Bright Wizard coming in with Flamestorm, Burning Head, and God, I forget all the names of these spells. Don't get to see terribly often. Piercing Bolts of Burning as well. So an interesting toolkit, no Fireball. And we do have a basic General of the Empire. So a rather wide build, has to go a little bit cheap in his Lord here. But again, he's pretty tanky, pretty cheap. He's just there to not die and allow the rest of his build to kind of get the value. And we have 1 unit of Reichsguard as well, double chevroned up. So we'll have to see how this battle does. Goes Aleph and Nar looses the first arrow, killing a Reichsguard. In fact, killing 2 Reichsguard with 1 shot. Elven accuracy for you right there. But we are going to be popping up and instantly going after the Hellstorm rocket batteries. Looks like another shot is going to be fired and connects pretty well with the General of the Empire, doing some good work. Of course, all of my Shadow Walkers are currently stalked, so it looks like the Hellstorms are going to be going after the Silver Helms. So I'm sure they'll soon be switching their targets once they realise the threat in their midst here. The Bright Wizard is pushing up, and the Shadow Walkers are starting to get some volleys off. I'm trying to focus down the Great Swords. These guys are not shielded, so they're kind of the better target. Here's the Moonbow, does strike true, taking down 1 of the Hellstorm rocket batteries, and nearly breaking this unit as well. Although it looks like they are going to be able to stabilise here. Nice burning head by my opponent. I did manage to dodge, hope just about in time, really. One of my units got caught a little bit. The other 2 should be relatively safe here, as the Reichsguard charge forward, attempting to assist the Bright Wizard, who took quite a lot of damage actually from the Shadow Walker pressure. and in come the Reichsguards, who are going to counter-charge now with all our cavalry, as well as our war lines. Realising my opponent has overextended quite heavily here, perhaps not realising as he is moving up with the rest of his force. So we're going to pin these guys in, but it is indeed a trap from the forces of the Empire. He's going to be popping down a flame storm and hoping it comes over towards me, and it is starting to go that way. With a mighty roar popped in, we managed to break the Reichsguard very quickly and allow me to drag all my forces out of the way of those nasty Hellstorm rocket battery and flame storm spellcast in there. So not a bad gambit by my opponents, attempting to bunch up all my cavalry and then hit them with the Hellstorm and the Flamestorm. However, I managed to dispatch them rather quickly and force my way back to relative safety. Bright Wizard is trying to juke left and right, which is some good micro by my opponents, but there's just a sheer mass of arrow fire coming by the Shadow Walkers. He's taking quite a lot of damage here. However, the Hellstorm is going to force me to keep on my toes, keep moving back and forth. For the most part, our Spearmen are just going to be chilling at the moment in the back lines here. No need to engage them just yet. So we are doing some pretty decent damage, forcing back the Bright Wizard. I believe Alefnar is even now trying to snipe him. We did manage to get rid of another Hellstorm rocket battery, but it's rather slow going with Alefnar sometimes, trying to take out those artillery pieces. But it looks like he's still going at it, not doing a bad job. Great Swords are once again the focus of attention here for the Shadow Walkers, who've taken a decent amount of damage now from the Hellstorm. We're going to get some early cycle charges coming in from the Silver Helms, pounding down at the Great Swords before fleeing once more. We have popped up a Alefnar decoy here, who does a lovely little rolling animation just to distract this General of the Empire and try and slow down the advance of my opponent, allow me to cycle charge in the front line with the Silver Helms, flinging these poor Empire troops backwards here. But there is double Great Swords, so I need to pull out rather quickly, as Archer Fire and Great Sword swords are going to be slashing and penetrating the Silver Helm armour here. So I'm going to have to be falling back, and it's getting a little bit ropey now, as my opponent does do pretty decent pressure on the Shadow Walkers here, having myself failed to take down the Hellstorm threat. We are falling back once more, but we are now also going to be engaging with the Spearmen, pushing them up a little bit to engage my opponent. Rohagris Pride under some nice cycle charging on the Swordsmen, noticing they have overextended, trying to push into the back line. We're actually going to hammer them from all flanks with War Lines and Silver Helms, trying to break their leadership as quickly as possible. All the while, the Great Swords are the focus of attention for the Shadow Walkers, doing some fantastic damage on these guys. We're going to be popping down a Fate of the Una, I believe, here, if I remember correctly. A Fate of the Una does come down indeed on the Great Swords, just trying to finish them off and break their leadership with some huge burst damage done to them there. And it looks like I did actually misclick here as well. Spirit Leech does go on down on the Swordsman, meant to hit the General of the Empire there, but still, damage is damage. So I'm going to try and follow up with the Silver Helms and kind of overload them where possible and hopefully break them off the field. Spearmen still getting into position, taking a little bit of damage here, and they are going toe-to-toe with Great Swords. So once again, Shadow Walker is just going to assist here where possible, poisoning the Great Swords as well, lowering their stats and allowing the Spearmen to hold the lines that little bit longer to allow the Archer Fire to come down and do some really decent work. Over here, once again, we see a mighty roar going down, just trying to break the leadership and slow down these troops, allowing my Silver Helms and War Lines to retreat once more, leaving the Spearmen to do the dirty work and hold the line in the name of Ulthuan here. Great Sword slowly being dragged down, and we have managed to wrap up and around here. My opponent really kind of trying to punch through the centre pocket. It's allowed me to move some Spearmen around the flanks and start shutting down this Archer pressure. They haven't used up too much of that ammunition, so if I can shut them down now, that's going to be worthwhile value for myself. Now I'm going to be driven back here. However, the Hellstorms still online. It looks like we have one there and two here. Another Moonbow did go into those guys, getting some pretty decent value. However, the Great Swords are starting to stutter here, as the Silver Helms once again come charging in, buying more and more time for me to do damage. Alefnar Decoy once again has been summoned to pin in some Spearmen, and Alefnar himself now is going to be focusing down at the General of the Empire. Looks like he may have actually just been able to slay him here, laying it down in the dirt. And it looks like with the General gone and the majority of the forces quite beleaguered here and beat up, the rest of the Empire forces are going to be running for the hill, so a close victory there for the forces of Nagaraith. So, hope you guys did enjoy that. Before we do get into a little bit of breakdown, hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up. It really helps support the channel. And subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. So, well played to my opponent there, Mantis Shrimp, with a really interesting build coming in with the Great Swords. Units you don't get to see terribly often. Looks like they were all chevroned up as well, so going for a bad to the bones infantry core, and going relatively light on cavalry and range, with the archers being pretty cheap. Double Hellstorm, though, did some decent work, despite the fact I managed to take out quite a few models of them with Alathanar himself, who did get 70 kills as well. Certainly put in a good shift. And I thought, I would try out this really fun build. And the Shadow Walkers honestly performed pretty well. I gave them all a chevron at the start of the battle, but they all did gain one. And 40, 39, and 34 kills isn't crazy, but they managed to focus down the Great Swords, doing some pretty good work against those elite troops. And the Spearmen could just kind of come on and clean up shop, as it were. Bright Wizard as well took a decent pounding from them. And again, they're not overly amazing Shadow Walkers. They're pretty expensive, and they're basically non-AP Way Watchers, and the thing you love about Way Watchers is their AP damage output, but the poison's pretty cool as well, and it suits Alathanar and Nagarai faction in general. I'm quite a big fan here of the Silver Helm Warline combo. Silver Helms to do some decent damage on the charge and then use their mass to pin in the enemy. Then you have the kind of smaller unit of Warlines come in and do that AP while saturated on top of these Silver Helms. It's certainly something I'm going to have to try out a little bit more in the future, as I said before at the start, haven't played in a week or so. I've actually been hooked on a different game called Among Us at the moment, which a load of my friends are playing. But I thought I'd come back and get those teeth sharp again. And it was a really fun game overall. Glad to be back. So anyway guys, until next time, peace, and stay awesome. If you do want to support the channel in any other way or send any of your replays in, I do have a link to Discord and other ways of supporting the channel down below. So as always guys, once again, peace, and stay